It's time for an update on my Bose Wave 4 sound system. So here we go. Let's see what this baby sounds like. The majority of your controls are going to be on this remote, except for power on and power off, which can also be found on top of the unit right here. Simply touch that spot and power it on or down. This is something very strange for me to get used to. I'm very much accustomed to being able to interface with the machine directly from something on top or on the front, the traditional old-fashioned layout, and that is not how things work with this, so it's been odd. Even though I knew that there were no controls on this machine, I don't know why it didn't click. Fresh out of the box, it didn't click. I still feel it's strange. And I don't know why, because my history is to be using sound systems and thinking to myself, why can I not just have a remote? Why can't I just go buy a remote? Why can't they just put the technology in there so I can get a universal remote if they don't want to make one? Because I've always needed it. Unless I get up and go put myself over there, I'm very seldom spending the whole of my life within just a few inches of the machine waiting to tap the next button or change to the next track or whatever I've got to do. So I'm not finding that I'm missing anything by having all of the controls on the remote. It's simply an extremely difficult mental changeover for me because I've never had this experience before. But functionally, I'm constantly someplace with the remote. I can listen to videos or music from bed right before I go to sleep and not have to worry about getting up, turning it off. It's really a better thing. It's just very counterintuitive to me because I keep thinking, what if I lose the remote? What if something happens to the remote? So hopefully that will literally never take place. And I know you can probably go find a replacement. It's just some part of my brain feels more comfortable with the idea that the replacement is physically built into the unit. There's been no bad outcome from it. It's just a huge change for me. It's going to take me possibly the next 37 years of my life. Hopefully not, to get used to this new thing now. I also find that everything on the remote works very easily and exactly the way it's supposed to, which is very nice. You don't get a strange experience when you're trying to press a button. You don't end up with it deciding it's not going to work on you. This has kind of been the dream machine for me for a long time. I've really wanted to get into a Bose Wave forever, for decades, and it just was never, I just go ahead and poetically say it was never the time. It never took place, and now I have it, and I'm really impressed that it's living up to all of my expectations. It's solidly built. When you pick this thing up, it's heavy. I love that because I know that they're not cutting corners deciding to use the lightest weight of plastics or aluminums or things that might easily get dented or ruined just from general use. Now, the reason I've got this laying here is because this is what I use on a regular basis. The Bluetooth adapter that is plugged in to the power cord here, and it's a C-port adapter, and then an auxiliary cord that plugs in here and in the back of the machine. So generally, if I'm not using a disc, I have got, and I use my discs. I have them, I prefer them. It's easier for me for multiple reasons. The majority of the time, I'm using an app on my phone, using this as a speaker, and I'm using the Bluetooth adapter. This was an additional item. It came with mine when I bought it, but it was to understand at the time that it doesn't always come with this unit. And I mean, I guess that makes sense because until recently, I didn't need anything of the nature and didn't want it. So I wouldn't have wanted it thrown in as an upsell, delicately increasing the price. It just happened to work perfectly for me now because again, I'm using my phone a lot. It's right there all the time, and the CDs are not. The CDs still sound better. It's been working very well for a good amount of time. However, I will say this specifically about this adapter. I have an unusual and disturbing amount of instances where, especially when it was new, I had trouble connecting to it in the first place and reconnecting to it with my phone. Generally, what ends up happening is that through troubleshooting, I find that what I need to do is basically turn it off and turn it back on again. So I will end up disconnecting this power cord and giving it that famed 10-second rest time, or just disconnecting it and walking away until I'm less annoyed. And then I reconnect it, and that just takes care of the problem completely, and it connects. It's a shame that I have to do that for multiple reasons, and one of those is that I don't really want this or the cords sitting there in the way all of the time. I like to have it kind of hidden back there where you can see the switch. Behind that there's another controller, and underneath there, that is where I have a tendency to leave this sitting. There's a nice lip on that white dish that you see the switch sitting in, and it just sits there nicely and it doesn't go anywhere unless and until I need to pick it up so I can turn it off and turn it back on again. Now that's a bummer. I don't like that feature, but quite frankly, I think that's par for the course for Bluetooth accessories. I'm to understand that that's greatly the experience. It's the experience I've had with other Bluetooth devices, and I don't know that there's anything wrong with this. I think it's just functioning the way Bluetooth famously functions. It has trouble connecting on a regular basis, and I don't actually think that's unusual. I don't love it in any way, shape, or form, but I don't think it's something specifically wrong with their product, so I'm just putting that out there so you have the information and you can go with it. As far as the CD port goes, it's pretty simple. Let's see if I've got one in there right now. Where's my eject button? Remember, oh, here we go. Wait, is that eject? Hold on, I'm thinking. Okay. So it sits right here. All you do is take this right here. I've got Chopin playing. So all you do is get this lined up and it will go right in, and then it'll start playing. So if you eject it, this is kind of funny to me, and I guess it makes sense because it protects the disc. If you hit eject and then don't grab it out, within a few seconds, it's going to just sort of suck it right back in there. And that was almost perfect timing for me. Now it works beautifully. When I'm using it for a CD, I find that I get the most robust sound possible, and this makes sense to me because you're not dealing with something like a Wi-Fi connection. You just got basic traditional physics taking place where you're going to hear the sound the way it was truly meant to be heard. I actually think it sounds pretty good with the demonstration from the YouTube studio, because while I was sitting here, especially for that last one, that bassy one, I was bouncing. I was happy. I was like, are you kidding me? I haven't played something through here with volume that high, because I don't need the volume that high to hear it, but I just want to make sure, since I'm recording it, that I'm getting an accurate representation of what it can do. So I amped it up a little bit to make sure it comes through clearly. It is physically painful not to sing to something that sounds that good. I mean, if I had not been recording, it would have been on, baby. So I'm getting to hear this a little bit for the first time myself because the bass test. Why didn't I run the bass test and just see if I could bounce myself out of the building? Fantastic. That's what we're going for. In order to get the music from the PC to the Bose and safely play that, I used the auxiliary cord, because I'm not kidding, my PC is from before the days of Bluetooth. I do not have Bluetooth on the PC. I disconnected the auxiliary cable from here, which is then still going to be connected in the back to the Bose, and I connected the cable to the PC, and that's how I played that music. So you can use it with that basic traditional, what is it, 2.5? The most common sized auxiliary hookup, because it's just a double-ended auxiliary cord, male to male on both ends. Now, from what I understand, you cannot use this successfully in your phone because this plug has 3 sections, and in order to use it in a phone, you need one that has 4 of these sections. I don't know if that's universal across all phones, but for my Android phone, that is what I've needed to do in order to use an auxiliary hookup. So you'll need an adapter, but if you get an adapter, then you can use this cord with your phone. I don't know how that applies to tablets. I encourage you to do your own research on the subject. So one more time, because I started a list and then I forgot I was starting a list. You can use this with the Bluetooth capable device. You can use it with a compatible auxiliary device hookup. You can use this in order to play CDs. You can use this in order to listen to the radio. I don't know if it's still a thing in this millennium, but hey, for me, that's a potential 3 in this millennium. So I'm finding I have a variety of ways to use this that work for me on a daily basis, because I very much like to listen to YouTube videos and listen about things and learn about things and research about things and just have them playing anytime I feel like it, especially multitasking, even sometimes when I'm working on my own videos and I don't have to be listening and watching exclusively to that. I'm just getting a huge amount of use out of this, and surprisingly, the majority of my use really is as an external speaker and not as much for listening to my music collection, where it tends to be happening while I'm up and about, and I'm very apt to have my headphones on. So this is kind of the most epic external speaker I could ever possibly have conceived of purchasing, and I am thrilled with it in every way. The next thing I want to do is figure out how to hook it up to my TV so I can see if I can get rid of some of those hideous shrill tones that be driving me crazy on a regular basis. But that's an entirely different story. I do not know how to do that, and I'm not even going to suggest it because I don't see why you wouldn't be able to these days, but I'm having trouble finding the instructions myself. So maybe if I ever find those instructions and manage to get it done, I'll come back and update on that. But please do not wait for me, baby, because I have 100% lost my patience on the subject and I have moved on repeatedly. So my general update on this is that it's Fabu and I love it. And I'm having a huge ball. It's sturdy. Nothing has gone wrong. Footnote on that, because obviously there's the issue I'm going to talk about. I'll throw that in. Nothing has gone wrong with anything functional with this machine, and I'm absolutely in love with the fact that I have finally taken the plunge to increase my quality of life in this way. I am an audiophile, and this is a massive increase to the quality of my life. Listening to music through phone speakers, through PC speakers, even through TV speakers, through most anything that's not what I call Excelsior grade, something like this, and this is Excelsior grade, let me tell you, is a total nightmare for me. It's eliminated that experience, and I'm extremely glad to have that pressure release, because it actually does affect me on a general physical and mental health level on a daily basis. So if you're somebody who needs something like this and you can get that done and you're on the fence and you're wondering if it's going to make a difference, I can tell you from my experience that for me, it has made the difference, and I have so much rest and peace now listening to things that I simply did not have before. And you know what? Sometimes I just can't sit there with headphones on all the livelong day. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's uncomfortable. Having the headphones and the auxiliary hookup is really nice, but I've got to tell you, getting back into the habit of being able to hear something played out into the atmosphere and hear the sound resonating through my body as it hits my face, and I can feel it on my skin and I can feel it resonating through me, is just an experience I do not want to give up on again, and I don't intend to as long as I have access to this sweet baby. So I'm going to be having access to this sweet baby indefinitely. There's a cosmetic issue that I have with this machine, and I do not understand it. However, I assume maybe it has something to do with heat. I don't know if it has to do with the shipping process or if it was made this way or if perhaps there was something wrong. I got a discount on mine, and I don't know if there was something that was wrong with this cosmetically, and that's one reason why they're moving it. I have no idea. I'm not sure if it can be seen or how well it can be seen. There's some cloudiness that is inside this panel, and it's not something on the outside. You cannot clean it away. I think it can be seen from this angle. Inside of this panel on the front, there is a shadow. You can see it over the 6. Let me see if I can point without ruining everything. You can see it right in that area, an almond shaped, shadowy something. There's a little bit over here, but I'm not fully certain if I'm seeing it. Somewhere in this area. Yeah, okay, I think you can see it. There's a wispy bit of something hazy in there. It's not because of the time. Oh, you can see it as I move that. Look at this. It's really showing up. So this is the cosmetic issue that I've been having. This is just in there. It's permanent. After I unpackaged it and looked at it, I noticed it and I thought to myself for a while, because I wasn't sure if I could tolerate looking at it. However, it really shows up on camera. And when I'm sitting here, I don't know if it's because of where I have it sitting or because it's so shadowy. What you're seeing on camera is a pretty bright reflection with colors, lots of pink and lots of light showing, and it's really showing that haze. But to my naked eye, all of this stuff looks a lot darker. There's no glare around the numbers. And I really just don't see this shadow unless and until I go in looking for it. And I don't go in looking for it because I know it's going to bother me. So while this is something I clearly do not like, it's really not something I hate, and it's definitely something I can live with. I didn't even want to deal with anything like a warranty service. I physically wanted it in my possession so that I could live my life with what I was hoping would be great audio. And now that I've tested it, I feel it is great audio, and I'm all about that. So, speaking of my feelings on how things sound, for whatever reason, I'm feeling dehydrated today and I can feel it and hear it in my throat. So, I'm going to wrap this right on up. I feel I've said everything I need to say. Have I said everything I need to say? That's about it. Bye now.